Yesterday, were we doing this? Defining the coefficient of mutual induction, boys? Did I complete this? The coefficient of mutual induction, did I complete? Are you able to hear, boys? 12B. 12B.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Did I complete this part? The coefficient of mutual induction? Boys, did I complete this?
We only wrote the first part of the slide, not the
First one.
second.
Okay. So the second part is that you are defining the coefficient of mutual induction. So phi is equal to, say, phi 2 is equal to m into I. The flux linked with the second coil depends upon the current flowing in the first coil. So EMF induced in the second coil, E is equal to E2 is equal to minus d phi 2 by dt, or I can write this as E2 is equal to minus m into di1 by dt. So if once I can take the magnitude, so minus E2 is equal to m into di1 by dt. Now if di1 by dt is equal to 1 ampere per second, then the magnitude of the EMF induced is equal to the coefficient of mutual induction. So I can write the coefficient of mutual induction is numerically equal to the magnitude of the EMF induced in the secondary coil when the current flowing through the primary coil increases at the rate of 1 ampere per second. This is the coefficient of mutual induction or mutual inductance is said to be 1 Henry if the current of 1 ampere changes per second in the primary coil, inducing. So there are different way of putting it. This is one of the way. The mutual inductance is defined as the induced EMF set up in the secondary coil. So mutual induction, coefficient of mutual induction M is equal to the EMF induced in the secondary coil when the rate of change of current in the primary coil is unity. Boys, write these steps and then you can copy down the statement. So the coefficient of mutual induction is Henry. Please do this, boys. Yeah, almost I need to complete your portion. Write this formula. So what is phi 2? Phi 2 is the magnetic flux linked with secondary coil. It depends upon how much current is flowing in the primary coil. So complete this and then start writing the statement which is being highlighted. Boys, let's be a bit fast and complete. Once you have completed, just remind me. Did your class teacher inform you that she wants to inform some important things at 9:25? Is that so, boys? Or she has already informed you?
Ma'am, our class period is the last period, so not yet.
Okay. Yes. She wants to inform some important thing to you all. Boys, have you copied? So shall I go for deriving an expression for mutual inductance, an important derivation as a 3-mark question? Shall I go for it? Have you completed, boys? Have you all completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Write the heading. Expression for coefficient of, sorry, boys. Expression for the coefficient of mutual induction. Expression for the coefficient of mutual induction. So you have to derive an expression for M. Now look at this. You have coils S1 and S2, right? Both wound one over the other. So let us take S1 as the primary coil, S2 as the secondary coil. Now the radius of the first coil S1, because S1 is a smaller coil relatively compared to the other coil S2. So the radius of radius R2 is greater than radius R1. Now let N1 be the total number of turns of S1, N2 is the total number of turns of S2. Then the length of the coils are the same. Then the number of turns per unit length N1 is equal to the number of turns per unit length will be equal to N1 by L. The number of turns per unit length of the secondary coil is N2 by L. So S1 is carrying a current of I1, S2 is carrying a current of I2. Let's just initialize. You need not, later on when you're writing, you can just write R1 is the radius. Now just make a column S1 and S2, two coils. One is having a radius R1, carrying a current of I1. The other one having a bigger radius R2, carrying a current of I2. N1 is the number of turns of S1, then N2, both are having the same length. Just make a note of it. Then we'll start deriving expression for coefficient of mutual induction. Okay. But have you?
Should we draw the diagram?
Diagram is important, but right now I think so I'll not be able to complete it. But just have a picture of it. Then later on, when you're writing the notes, you can take it up. Okay.
Okay.
Now let me go for deriving an expression for it. For that, okay, we'll start with this. Think that the current flowing, both the current I1 and I2 are alternating. The current keeps on changing its magnitude and direction. It's alternating current. So when the current flowing through S2, when the current flowing through S2 is changing, right? Say it is increasing or decreasing, then the magnetic field it produces will change. When the magnetic field produced by S2 is going to change, the number of field lines passing through S1, that is a flux linked with phi1, is going to change. So current coil S2 is carrying a current. So current carrying S2 produces a magnetic field. If the current itself is varying, the magnetic field produced by S2 change, which means the number of field lines, magnetic field lines passing through S1, because both are wound one over the other. So the magnetic field produced by S2 will pass through S1. If the field itself is varying, the flux, the number of field lines passing through S1 will change. When the number of field lines through S1 is going to change, and EMF is induced in S1. So that's what we are going for it. Right, boys. Magnetic flux linked with S1 with coil S1. So I can write this as phi1. It depends on the magnetic field produced by the secondary coil, and it depends on its own area and the number of turns. Here it will be N1. N1 is the number of turns of coil S1. Now let us find what is the strength of the magnetic field produced by B2. So magnetic field due to S2 so that magnetic field B2 is equal to, it's a solenoid, mu naught N2 I2. Right, boys? So substituting that over here, phi1 becomes equal to mu naught N2 I2 into A1. I'm substituting for B2 into N1. I can write N1 as in terms of, what I'm substituting for B2. So I can write now phi1 is equal to mu naught N2 I2 area as pi R1 square, N1 as, because small n1 is the number of turns per unit length, that will be capital N1 by L. So I can write phi1 is equal to mu naught N1 N2 then pi R1 square into I2. So mark this as equation 1. Then the magnetic flux in terms of the mutual inductance. So magnetic flux phi1 is proportional to the current flowing in the secondary coil. So the flux induced in the first coil depends upon the depends upon the current flowing in the second coil. So mark this as equation 2. So now you equate 1 and 2, equating equations 1 and 2. On your left hand side, you will have M12 because I2 will cancel on both the sides. It's mu naught N1 N2. You will be having an L over here. So pi R1 square into L1. Sorry, it's just L because both the coils are having the same length. So this is the coefficient of mutual inductance, mutual induction of first coil with respect to second coil. Now, what do you mean by coefficient of mutual induction? It gives you an idea to what extent the EMF can be induced in coil 1. So that gives you an idea to what extent an EMF is induced in a given coil because of the varying current flowing in the second coil. So you are equating two equations. This and the other one is what happens?
Ma'am, here is coil 2, the primary coil.
Coil 2 is, no, coil 1 is, okay, here we have taken S1 as your primary, S2 as the secondary coil. Or coil 1 or coil 2.
Okay, ma'am.
So copy down, then I'll go for deriving M21. To what extent an EMF can be induced in the second coil when the current flowing through the first coil is going to change.
Could you explain what we have to do in our holiday homework for physics?
A holiday homework record work. You have to complete writing your record work. Boys, again an error. All your diagrams should be on the blank side. Observation table also should be in the blank side. Observation table should not come on the writing side. That is your ruled sheet. So all your observations, tabular column, yes.
Ma'am, can you show a sample right now?
No, I think so. Long back. 1 second, boss. Let me check.
No, ma'am, you didn't send anything.
No, long back in the beginning of your.
Ma'am, you told what to do, but I don't think we got a sample or anything.
Sample, okay, fine. If I'm going for sample, I'll not be able to complete sample set. Just after this class, I'll put this in your class files and then I'll send a message. Now, if I'm going for it, I have to search the file. Right? I'll put the sample paper, sorry, sample record work. investigatory project. Yesterday I told 3 of you, I've seen some messages, 3 of you combine yourselves together, select one experiment and start writing, boys. You can browse your net. Now you'll be having enough time to do that. And then you have previous year papers, 2 sample papers, 5 questions from each. That's it. Because we don't want to burden you. Only these 2 sample papers, 1 investigatory project and 1. See, investigatory project, when you are submitting, 3 of you are going to share 1. So what you do is one person can write all three of your names and submit.
Can we submit it as soft copy?
Soft copy. Because it has to be continuously checked. So once you come to school and start doing your experimental work, so when you take your observations, you can check. Well, anyone who wants to do magnetic movement of a bar magnet, now why I'm saying is that if you have selected, then you can go for that videos and just study. Sit together as a team, see how it can be done. Anyone in yes?
Can we do a project where one of the items, though it might not be in the school, we can bring from outside?
Yes, you can do that. It's very welcome. Not necessary what is there in the laboratory, whatever you feel. But the only thing is that high-powered, this becomes a problem right now. The rest, everything you can bring it from outside. If you need anything from the lab, you just remind us. Let us see what is there. Most of the apparatus are there. If you're going for electronics, it's fine.
Ma'am, should we draw any of the graphs for the practicals in the notebook?
No, the thing is that only when I have corrected your work, you do it. See, those who are there for remote learning, please don't use any of your OLAB work. I have told you beforehand. Those who have been doing your laboratory practicals in OLAB session, please don't write any values. Only those who have come to regular class session. And if your values are being corrected by us, then you can transfer the values. If the values are not being corrected, observation, please don't transfer, boys. I'm repeatedly telling any error goes on, and if I'm putting a red mark over there, that will, from teacher's end, if we put any red mark corrections in your record book, it goes against you. So I don't want to put any of these errors over there. That's what I'm telling. If you have a doubt in observations, don't do it anything right now. OLAB students, please don't do anything regarding your observations. That's totally different.
So we
Those are
draw the graphs, right? We won't draw any of the graphs.
No, nothing.
Okay.
For you, no graph, nothing. Only those who have come to school and got their work corrected, please do it. And if you still feel it's you're not very sure, those who have come to school, you can write it in pencil, and later on, once you get it corrected, observation, I'm talking about observations. Once it is got it corrected, go for your overlapping it with pen. Now let me
Ma'am, Ma'am, is it fine if we use online lab manual?
No, that's not an issue, boys. That's not an issue. The problem is you will be facing your lab examination, right? So you need a lab manual. The reason is, one is for preparing yourself for Viva. That's
okay, ma'am.
Shall I erase this? Okay, boys. So what you can do is M12 you have found. So similarly, during examination, not able to. I think so.
Ma'am, also, if you are ready with the writing where we have to submit it for the investigatory project, so there's no file or any forms or anything to submit.
Okay, anyway, you keep things ready. I'll create a folder, then you can upload it in the folder.
Okay.
Not able to do. 1 second. First, let me complete this because now, when you are deriving, what you can do is you can write similarly the extent to which EMF can be induced in the secondary coil, that is M21 is equal to mu naught N1 N2 pi R2 squared into L. Now here your R2, I'm roughly taking it as R1. Let us see why. So M21 also becomes equal to mu naught N1 N2 pi R1 squared into L. So therefore, M21 is equal to M12. Right. Now, why is that why is that R1 is equal to R2? That you should understand, boys. Now, look at this. The coil, yes, primary coil, right? It produces a magnetic field. The magnetic field is represented by magnetic field lines. So the primary coil produces a magnetic field and it is confined only to a region, right here. It's confined to a region which is bound by the coil. It's not beyond S1. It is well within S1, right? But that's the reason the magnetic flux, boys, keep this in mind, the magnetic flux, the number of field lines passing through the secondary coil is only happening inside this highlighted area. The magnetic flux means what? The number of field lines produced by the first coil, because the first coil is carrying an alternating current. It produces a varying magnetic field, which means the number of field lines that is passing through S2 is bound only to this area, which is confined to R1. Though the radius of the coil is R2, but the flux is bound only within this area of pi R1 square. So that's what R1 and R2 is approximately. R2 taken to be R1. To complete this, boys. So this is being done. The next I have to go for electric generator. It's over. Boys, let me finish this off. Shall I go for the next one?
Yes, ma'am.
Next one is AC generator. Now you all know about AC generators. You have studied in your lower grade.
Ma'am, can you show the previous slide?
You have all studied about AC generator. The electrical power, whatever we are using, the voltage, whatever we are using, is generated by a generator. And explain its working with the help of a label diagram. We'll do all these things. Now, what is the principle of working of electric generator? Now you can see in this, a coil is rotating in a magnetic field. When the coil is rotating in a magnetic field, look at the current flowing through the coil. The current flowing through the coil is alternating in nature. This is your current. This is the current. The current flowing in the coil keeps changing its direction periodically, and its magnitude is also going to change. Now, such current, we call them as alternating current. So if you want to produce alternating current or alternating voltage, which we are generally using for all purpose, you have to rotate a coil in a magnetic field. So here we'll see the basic principle, and we'll see the working parts of your generator, and then we'll derive an expression for the EMF induced. Just make a note of it, boys. It works on the principle of electromagnetic induction. Just write AC generator, the heading. Principle is electromagnetic induction. Now we'll see the basic working parts and its function. AC generator is a device with energy to electrical energy, because the coil is rotating in a magnetic field. So it's mechanical energy, and the coil rotates, the EMF is induced in the coil, so an induced current flows to the coil. So this is called electromagnetic induction. So the mechanical energy is converted to electrical energy. Principle is electromagnetic induction. Now it consists of an armature coil. Armature coil is nothing but you take a magnetic material in a rectangular form, and then you wind number of turns of insulated copper wire over it. Now that forms what we call it as an armature. Now why armature is used? A number of turns of copper wire wound over soft iron core. Now this soft iron core is used to increase the magnetic flux. So here PQRS is your coil or an armature. Then you have the magnetic field produced by the pole pieces of a strong permanent magnet. Then there is what we call it as slip rings. Split rings are used in motors. Here we are using slip rings. We'll see slip ring is nothing but hollow metallic ring. So the arm RS, can you see the arm RS is connected to a slip ring R1. It's a full ring, metallic ring R1, and the arm PQ is connected to another metallic ring B2, sorry, R2. Now these two rings, boys, when the coil is rotating, the rings also will rotate. So when the coil is rotating, R1 also keeps on rotating, but at every moment, each and every part of R1 is in contact with B1, which means the current which is flowing through R1 will be taken by the carbon brush B1. Now as the coil is rotating, right, the ring R2 attached to the arm PQ keeps on rotating, so that the brush B2 is in contact with each and every part of R2, and B2 is stationary. B1 and B2 are stationary carbon brushes which are in rotation, so which are in contact with rotating rings. So B1 and B2 will carry the current from PQRS, which is developed in PQRS, to an external load R. See, when the coil PQRS is rotating in a magnetic field, an induced current will flow through it. So the induced current produced in PQRS will be carried over to external load, where you are taking the output voltage through the brushes, carbon brushes, B1 and B2. Now let us apply Fleming's right hand rule and find the direction of the induced current. Now boys, Fleming's right hand rule I am applying for the arm RS. Now you stretch your forefinger of your right hand. So the forefinger of your right hand, that represents the magnetic field, right boys? The forefinger of your right hand is stretched along the direction of your magnetic field. Now look in which direction coil is rotating. The coil is rotating in anti-clockwise direction, which means RS is moving inward, PQ is moving outward. So when RS is moving inward, I have told you, your forefinger is pointing in the direction of the magnetic field. Your thumb of your right hand should be pointing into the plane of your monitor, boys. The forefinger of your right hand, stretch it along the direction of from north to south, that is the direction of the magnetic field. The arm RS, right, it's moving inward, which means your thumb should be pointing into the plane of the page. Then when you stretch your center finger will stretch downward. That gives you the direction of the induced current flowing in the arm RS. Are you clear? Okay. So how does the induced current flows in your coil PQRS? It flows in the direction PQRS. So your induced current starts flowing from point P, it goes to QRS. So from point S, it goes to the ring R1. From ring R1, it flows to the brush B1. From B1, it goes to the brush B2. From B2, the current flows to the ring R2. From R2, it goes to the point P. So now this is a complete circuit. So internally, this is the direction in which induced current flows. Externally, it flows from B1 to B2. I am repeating, boys. Your coil is rotated with a constant angular speed, right? RS is going inward, PQ is moving outward. So because of electromagnetic induction, the current starts flowing in the coil along PQRS. When it reaches point S, it goes to the ring R1. From R1 to B1, brush B1. From B1 to brush B2. From B2 to the ring R2. From R2 to point P. So now the circuit is complete. Now what will happen after half a rotation? I think all these things you would have learned in grade 10. But anyway, I'll just do this. Now this is after half a rotation. After half a rotation, what is going to happen? Now, in that case, RS will now take the position of PQ. PQ will take the position of, so this is after half a rotation, because RS was moving inward, PQ was moving outward. After half a rotation, this is how the coil looks. So now PQ is connected to the ring R2 and RS is connected to ring R1. Is that correct, boys? So this is in contact with brush B1. This is in contact with brush. Okay. Now we'll see what happens according to electromagnetic induction. According to electromagnetic induction, the induced current will flow from this way. It flows from, in the internal circuit, it flows from SRQP. Then it reaches the point P, it goes to the ring R2. From ring R2, it goes to, from the current flows this way. SRQP, then it goes to the ring R2, from R2 to the brush B2, from B2 to B1. B1 directly goes to the ring R1, from R1 it goes to the point S. So here, after half a rotation, look at the direction of the current flowing. It flows from B2 to B1. Initially, the current was flowing along PQRS. Externally, it was flowing from B1 to B2. After half a rotation, B2 to B1. This is how the current changes. It's so the induced current. So induced current in the external circuit, during a half a rotation, it flows from B1 to B2. Next half a rotation, it changes its direction. It goes from B2 to B1. Such current, we call them as alternating current. Anyway, just go through it, boys. This is the basic principle. Now again, when the coil is rotating, QP will move. So it keeps on changing. Now let us go for finding the instantaneous EMF. The EMF induced at any instant of time. Now start writing, boys. The magnetic flux linked with the coil 12B. I'm not checking because I'm running short of time. Okay.
Could you
the magnetic flux. Yes.
Can you show the previous slide for 1 second? Thank you, ma'am.
The magnetic flux linked with the coil is NBA cos theta. Boys, here the strength of the magnetic field remains a constant. The area of the coil remains a constant. What is changing is the angle between area vector and B vector. So the coil is rotating with an angular velocity omega. Omega is theta upon t, or theta is equal to omega t. So I can write phi is equal to NBA cos omega t. So instantaneous EMF, which means the EMF induced at any instant of time. So instantaneous EMF, E is equal to minus d phi by dt. So that becomes equal to minus NBA into minus omega sine omega t. Because when you differentiate cos omega t, you will get minus omega sine omega t. Or I can write NBA omega sine omega t. Okay, boys. Now n, b, a, omega, all these values are constant, and let us represent it by E naught. So E becomes equal to E naught sine omega t. So where E naught is called the peak value of your EMF. So this is an expression for your instantaneous EMF induced at any instant. Boys, please write this. I might be having 7 minutes more, right? Yes, boys?
2 minutes, ma'am.
2 minutes. Right? Boys, copy down. I'll just have to finish the graph part. So this is a sine graph. Shall I go for the next one, boys? I'll just finish off your graph, then we'll come back and you write. Okay. Now, one second. Look at the graph. They will ask you to plot the graph. Yes. Now the instantaneous EMF versus your current, that is the graph. Y-axis is EMF induced, so that is equal to E is equal to E naught sine omega t, or I can write sine theta. Theta is the angle between area vector and the magnetic field vector. In the first case, boys, in the first case, B vector is always north to south. Area vector, any vector which is perpendicular to the surface. So the angle between them, theta, becomes equal to 0. Sine 0 is 0, so your EMF was 0 over here. In the second case, area vector is any vector which is perpendicular to the plane of the coil, and this magnetic field vector is from north to south. So theta becomes equal to 90 degrees. Then E becomes E maximum. Look at this. This is E maximum. Next, when the coil is rotating, this is after half a rotation.
Ma'am, I guess it's break now.
Okay, 180 degrees. So your EMF becomes equal to 0. So this is how the graph looks like. Anyway, boys, you can utilize your holidays well, right? Don't waste your time. You have enough to do.